Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday evening of the Sports Crib. I see some of the guys are here. Reggie, how you doing this evening?
Very good, my friend. Great to be with you guys. Great to be with you guys on this fine Wednesday evening.
Uh, Bo, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a little while.
Yeah, doing good. Sorry I missed you guys last week. We ended up getting some snow coming in, and then didn't have any signals, so it was a quiet evening.
Demetrius, how you doing, my brother?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
We can hear you loud
All
and
right.
clear.
How is everybody doing tonight?
Everybody is
Good, very
doing
good.
well. Thought I started off with a little baseball. I know all you guys are baseball. Well, I know Reggie's a baseball fanatic. I mean, Demetrius is a baseball fanatic. Dave kind of goes back a little bit here. Dave, I guess before we get started, we all missed it last week. Let's get into Sue's corner.
Sure thing. We just got back from a high school wrestling match, but what she wrote was depending on who wins the NFL championship games this season, I'm sure there will be refereeing conspiracies abound. If the Lions lose, there will be scrutiny on the Blakeman-led ref squad. Detroit holds Blakeman responsible for the loss to Green Bay in 2019 with some really wacky calls, and admitted by the ref review the next day. The squad reffing the Ravens-Chiefs game is led by Sean Smith, and there is an interesting history regarding home field advantage. She put the quotes there. The numbers, as broken down by Sharp Football Analysis, are striking. Home teams have a 55.9% win rate over the past 3 years. With Smith as the referee, they have a 40.8% win rate. The numbers against the spread take a similar dip, going from 50.1% to 37%. Also, home teams in non-Smith games, officiated games, receive 4.6% fewer penalties and 34.8% more in Smith games. I guess he's flag happy. So that will give the Ravens something to fuss about if they lose. In all fairness, human error is human error. But the stakes are so high these days that any perceived mistake is enormous. I would still be squawking over the ball placement on the Green Bay fourth down try against the Chiefs if I were a Green Bay fan. You almost wish it could be like tennis, where you have lines, people calling the balls in or out, but if there is a protest, it goes to the censors, a machine to determine. Harder to do in football with a pile of large humans over a ball, but would be nice to have something definitive other than the human eye on the field or watching replays. So that's Sue's corner. I guess officiating was her.
Good for Sue. I just became an even bigger Sue fan.
I feel like a lot of people share her sentiment there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think I did my final thoughts on the officials 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you guys
yes,
know
you
how I
did.
feel.
I do recall.
Guys, let's talk about real quick about the Hall of Fame. We had 3 guys go into the Hall of Fame: Joe Mauer, Adrian Beltre, and Todd Helton. Demetrius, I guess we'll let you start in on this subject.
Appreciate it. This was easy, right? You got 2 of the greatest hitters of their generation. Joe Mauer and Adrian Beltre were not hard to do. If they would have messed this up, it would have been a more difficult conversation. I think this is probably year 5 or 6 for Helton, and he deserves it. I mean, the numbers, like with Beltre, it's easy. Beltre's got almost 500 home runs. He's got 3,000 hits. His OPS is like mid threes, right? Beltre is an easy choice. He deserves it. Mauer played 15 years. He's got over 2,000 hits, like 5, 6-time All-Star, and just a pure hitter at the catcher position. So those 2 are easy. Helton had the longevity. I think he played maybe 17, 18 years. I don't think he quite made it to 3,000 hits, maybe 2,500, but he's got a career 310, 315 hitter. And you play 17 years, hit almost 400 home runs, and have an average well over 300. Yeah, I think like I said, it's 5th or 6th year. But also Jim Leland's in. That means something to me because I'm a Detroit Tiger fan. He might have a split hat. I don't know how you do it. I hope his hat has a D, but you Pittsburgh guys might disagree with me, and I would understand. So they got to figure out Jim Leland's helmet. But I am disappointed. I won't complain. Gary Sheffield. I'm disappointed about Gary Sheffield. I'm going to say that. There's a way. They got other ways to do it, but Gary Sheffield should have been in. But I mean, you can't deny the 3 guys that got in. I have no issue, certainly, with those. Like I said, I think this year was kind of easy. I'm not a big fan of that group and what they do and how they do this, but those 3 were easy. I'm disappointed in Sheffield, and I'm happy for Jim Leland. So,
Dave, Jim Leland.
Yeah. I really like that Demetrius brought him up. I would have if he didn't. And he managed the Pirates to their last 3 division titles, which they did from 1990 to 1992. They haven't done anything since then.
Yep.
So, I think of Jim Leland fondly because of his success with the Pirates.
Yeah.
With the other guys, with Joe Mauer, I think this was his first year of eligibility, right?
First ballot. Yes, sir.
So I think he joins like Johnny Bench and somebody else as the first catchers to be their first ballot.
Exactly.
Which, wow.
Big deal.
I
Big
mean,
deal.
that's pretty wild. I think the ding on Helton, what I was reading, was that he played in Colorado his entire career. And then it was a hitter-friendly park, and maybe some of the voters in the past felt that inflated his stats, but still, just to be able to hit like that consistently. And then when you look at what he did in the away games, he didn't hit as well, but he still did very, very good. So,
Bo.
Yeah. So my thing is I was disappointed Gary Sheffield didn't make it in. I mean, I felt like he definitely deserved it. The one that really surprised me was how low the voting was for Omar Vizquel.
Yeah.
An 11-time Gold Glove winner, and he got like 15% of the votes. How?
Goodness.
How? Like, that is horrendously bad for a guy that was amazing over his entire career. So there were some things that definitely were head scratchers, but Sheffield not getting in, especially because it was his last year of eligibility in the standard way to get there. I thought maybe Mauer wouldn't get in just to have that spot, because your first year of eligibility, I mean, he has plenty more opportunities. So I thought maybe that might be the guy that didn't quite get there on the first ballot to allow Sheffield in. Now I know that there's probably some other ways that he can get backdoored in there, but yeah, that was disappointing. That was disappointing.
Reggie, you want to finish it up?
Yeah, I gotta kind of echo what the guy said here. Me personally, I didn't even know. I had to look up Todd Helton. I didn't even know who that was. Mauer and Beltre, absolutely. When breaking down the percentages, Beltre at a 95% support is incredible. Getting these guys, that many people to agree on anything. But the highlight though, guys, is the Sheffield situation, because I think when you got the guys that are good players that come to their the finality of it, kind of sinks like, man, his chance of getting in just got that much slimmer after this particular round, and that's I think that's disappointing. I would like to have seen him get over the hump there.
I think the Veterans Committee will correct this at some point.
I hope so.
And that's what the Veterans Committee is there for, because at the risk of pissing off a bunch of people I don't know, because I don't really care about that shit. The baseball writers of America are a joke. This process is a joke. And the way they do it, the way they hold it up like it's this, I'm sorry. Gary Sheffield not getting in. And I love Beltre, to me, deserved to be in. They all should have gotten in. There's a way to do this. right? There's a way that you should
Right.
have a process that says, wait a minute, we're about to lose Gary. What lose? We're about to lose Gary Sheffield. We got to get him in. And maybe for them it's the veterans committee, and that's how you do it. But that group I'm not a fan of. I think I've done a final thought on how much I hate the baseball writers, by the way. If I haven't, I'm working on it. So it's coming.
This first segment is the final thoughts.
Right. I just did all my final thoughts.
It's terrible.
Right. And we haven't even talked about Matt Patricia. So shit, I'm just getting warmed up. We're just getting started.
Okay, guys. That as everyone says, that the baseball writers and how they put people in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it seems to be almost willy-nilly, but haphazard, whatever you want to call
No
it.
rhyme or reason. Yeah.
But congratulations to the ones that did get in, and hopefully we will see the Sheffield situation resolved.
Yeah.
Guys, I know we have a lot to talk about, but this was a head scratcher to me. You have a head coach his first year. He's fired after 43 games. The man has a 693 winning percentage. Not 500, 693, almost 700.
30-13.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
Doc Rivers is hired as his new coach.
Shades of Black. David Black here.
Shades of Black. Well done.
Yeah, man.
I know it's early, guys, but what the fuck happened here?
I love it. I love it. We're coming out hot.
Right? The late show starting early. Here we go.
We get past Sue's corner and to hell with it. We're going there.
All right, we're going straight there now.
I'll let you guys go. I love this, but I'll let you guys go first.
Bo, let's start with Bo.
I mean, this has to be a personality issue.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you can unravel something that's successful. Like, if you're just going to deliberately shoot yourself in the foot, that's the only way that happens, right? Honestly, it's how Jim Harbaugh ends up getting fired, because it's not because he is a bad coach, right? He's won everywhere he's gone. How's he end up leaving San Fran? Because they hated his personality, right? So that's all I can figure is this is a situation where, because, when you look at it, there's not a lot of information either. You just got the headline of, oh, the coach has been replaced. You're like, wow, I didn't realize he was on a hot seat. So, this has to be a massive personality clash.
Reggie, you had some thoughts about that in our little chat the other day.
Absolutely.
So, what's your thoughts, Reggie?
I think that my comments in the chat were related to the episode we did when he first got hired. Demetrius was on that episode, and we were talking about the fact that Griffin got hired, and it wasn't necessarily getting at Griffin; it was getting at the decision to move off Budenholzer. And one of the things you guys know about me, and consistent throughout leagues, no matter what league we're talking about, is I hate winning coaches being fired. I don't like, because I feel like it's so hard to win in these leagues that when an organization just jettisons a winning coach. I hate it when the Chargers did it to Schottenheimer and he was 14-2. They've never had a 14-2 record since then or before then. That was the best season they ever had, and they fired the guy. So it's like I don't like winning coaches being fired, so I can't turn around and cape for this decision either. I mean, he's a winning coach being fired. It's the same situation. I don't like it, but I understand it, because you're put him in an impossible situation when you fired a previous winning coach. You set the bar so enormously high that the new coach has to reach. Now, one of the things I did hear upon doing some reading up on this is that the writing was kind of on the wall within the organization. Like, they kind of knew because of certain things that were happening, certain players calling him out about certain decisions he's made with the X's and O's, and not feeling like he's scheming them up the best. There's a couple of things, though, that he can put out here in his defense. One of them being they have a better record, even though the defense sucks in comparison. But one thing is you lost Drew Holiday. When we discussed Dame Lillard coming there and them losing Drew Holiday, we talked about how much worse their defense was going to get because they just let a defensive guy just walk out the door, and you brought in an offensive guy. So clearly your defense is going to get worse. So I don't necessarily lay all the blame on him for the defense being so much worse. But one of the things that he can say, though, is even with our defense being worse, we have a better record now at this point in our season than we had last year at this point in the season. So you actually have a better record by 3 games now than you had then, and you still get fired. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do think that he was put in an impossible situation. I think they should have just kept Budenholzer around and rode that out a bit.
Dave?
Well, I don't really follow NBA, but just the facts of this, it's to me, it's ludicrous. Short of, I'd like to know what was the players' reaction. Did the players support him or were they against him? Now, Reggie seems to indicate that some players maybe didn't like some of his decisions, but
I think some of the bigger name players weren't necessarily gelling with his decisions, so to speak.
Yeah, but they're not the only people in the locker room. So it's like, as a whole, did they go and say, hey, we're not going to play anymore unless you get rid of the guy? I just don't understand it. When it's nearly a 700 winning percentage.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can help you. But the guys have already done it, but I'll put a bow on it like this. Not only did you fire a defensive coach who has won a world championship, you then traded your best defensive player.
Exactly.
Yes.
All the metrics said within the same few months, right? So then all the metrics said we're not good enough defensively to compete. And then, as Reggie said, in the building, people were like, this is not, even though, because you can work in an organization and the metrics look good, but you know what's happening behind the scenes. And I think Bo talked about that. And Reggie did too. In that league, players run that league. Players have run that league since help me out, James, 79 when Magic got Westhead fired, 78, 79. Players run that league. So yeah, if Giannis and or Dame through intermediaries or directly said, we don't think this is going to work, I only give them credit for one thing. They ripped the Band-Aid off right now. They ripped the Band-Aid off quick. Now, I happen to be a Doc Rivers guy, so I think they're going to be fine. They have to play better defense. They were not going to beat the Sixers playing that defense. There's 3 or 4 teams I don't think they're going to beat 4 out of 7 games unless they improved on defense. And his message wasn't resonating 40 games in. Their record is a result of the fact that they got 2 of the best players in the league on that team. You got Giannis and Dame on nights you get to play the Pistons 19 times.
19 W's.
Right. Don't get fooled by the record. The record is a result of they have talent on the team. But behind the scenes, what you see is, I hate to go back to my iceberg reference, that defense was not going to let them compete. And they're used to seeing next level, top 5 type defense. And somebody in that room is going, we might have messed up. Because Reggie hit the biggest point. Should have never. We talked about it. We both said, what the hell? You should have never fired Budenholzer. Never.
No,
I still don't get it.
It was funny because it essentially was like making a Molotov cocktail because you want to see the explosion, and then you're wondering why your hands burned.
Right. I like fire. Oh, no.
Right now?
Right. They saw that it wasn't going to work. You could see the handwriting, like Reggie said. And I think one of those 2 players could have just made a flippant comment to his agent. Adrian Griffin's gone. Because he's not right. The clout in that league sits with the players. The players run that league. It's been that way for 3 decades. And it's not going to change.
I think Wes had a winning record when Magic got him out of there. They had a winning record.
That's to the point of players can get good coaches fired. It happens all the time in that league. It just does. It happens in every league, right? I could do the Jim Caldwell story, but I won't do it. Right? I won't do it. I just mentioned his name. I'm too happy right now with that, so I won't talk about it. But good coaches get fired all the time for horrible reasons. But
yes,
I'd like Doc Rivers. I think they'll be fine, by the way.
It'll be interesting to see their record here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
One quick topic I didn't throw in there: Terry Rozier to the Heat.
Oh, great move for the Heat, in my opinion, guys.
Yep. Another smart move by the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Rich.
A smart organization making smart moves. They re-up their coach for what, about another 10 years or so.
Yep.
I think Riley's been running that thing with like an iron fist. They have it's a respectable organization. And I think this is just another respectable move by a respectable organization. Rozier, I think, is having one of his better years this year. He's averaging about 23 a game or somewhere in there. He's having a great year. So you add that, and you're going to add him to the team. You get some scoring, much needed scoring on the Heat. And you can add him to the team for a fraction of the price it would have cost you to add Dame. So I think this is a good move, in my opinion.
He complements what they do well. To Reggie's point, stable organizations make these moves, and you just trust. And like, their teams in the NFL, you guys' team, the Steelers draft a guy, and they develop. Steelers hire a coach. We assume that guy's got a job for
he's going to retire in that position, right?
30 years, right? And there are teams that do that. In the NBA, that's the Miami Heat. Their stability, I think Reggie mentioned, or consistency. That's the Miami Heat. They have a vision. They run a certain way. I didn't mean to jump in. I just think he nailed it. So,
I was going to say, I don't actually have anything to add to that. Like that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Smart move. He complements what they do. He'll fit right in. They have a culture. He won't be disruptive. It's just another good move by the Heat. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see Don is here.
All right.
There he is. What's up, Don? How we doing?
Hey.
What's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Harry.
Trying to survive a. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What are you trying to survive, or what?
Yeah. So we have severe thunderstorms coming in. I lost power. Hopefully, I don't lose power again. But if I do, you know why. I'm not cursing the rain. We need the rain.
Yeah.
We've had quite a bit out here too. Little flooding the last couple of days, but hey, like you said, we do need the rain, and hey, it does rain in Southern California, just in case you people know.
Shout out Tony.
Yeah.
And some old band from the 60s that made it originally. Sorry.
Don, what did you think about the Hall of Fame class this year? Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, Adrian. What did you think?
I think they're all solid picks. Every year they turn out the Hall of Fame. You start thinking of people like who they left off or whatever. But I have no qualms with this year's class. I think that we can all think of someone that we think we should have been on there. But I mean, when it's all said and done, everyone named is well deserved.
We were talking about the Sheffield situation, seeing as how this was his last year of eligibility to get in, the front door.
Yeah.
Donna, I know you don't do a lot of basketball, but of course you are a Spurs fan. But Don, what did you think about the Bucks firing their young coach with almost a 700 winning percentage and hiring Doc Rivers?
Well, if you remember in previous shows, I've always been a Doc Rivers fan. I think he's kind of old school, and I appreciate that. I'm not sure if he is the fit for this new generation. I know that 15, 20 years ago he would be a better fit, but I can't understand why they would fire. I can't understand why Milwaukee would fire their coach. I mean, he's taken Milwaukee to places they've never been before in recent history. I don't know if Giannis had anything to do with that. There's some speculation that might be the case, but it's a head scratcher.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, almost a 700 winning percentage, and you lose your job. I mean, what the hell? All right, guys. Let's talk about what we came here to talk about. The NFL. So, of course, just before we came on the air, it was announced Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. Now, I have certainly been hard on the Chargers for many, many years because I think that they have a great set of individuals, but I think they have a poor team. And frankly, I think that this was more of a hire of popularity. And I don't really see the Chargers progressing in that division that they're in because the other teams are getting better too. Harbaugh is a good coach, but Harbaugh is not the one that's out there on the field. So let's start with you on this one, Dave.
Well, I think number one, look at his track record. He's a winner. He goes to Michigan, gets a national championship. He was with the 49ers, goes to the Super Bowl. The question is how long is he going to last there? Is he going to outstay his welcome? But
Yes.
Hey, as long as you're winning. I mean, this is kind of like the discussion that we were just having about Adrian. It's like, hey, ride the horse, and if he can bring them back, turn this team around, because they do have talent. I was surprised that they didn't have a better record this year. I thought that they were going to do better this year. If he's putting them back into the playoffs or back into the playoff picture next season, then great decision. And that's what it's about. Get into the playoffs and then have a shot at the Super Bowl. And he's already done it before.
Bo.
Yeah, I mean, so him going there, it's got a good fit to it in the way that they do have some draft picks. Cap space is an issue, but they're in a division that I actually don't think they're getting that much better. The Raiders are a very real question mark as far as where they're headed. Denver is walking back their dumpster fire of getting rid of Russ. So now they could be bringing him back after causing all this drama. That sounds like a successful campaign. And then you have KC that looks like it's the most vulnerable it's ever been on offense during the Mahomes era. They have a good defense, but that offense is very beatable. So you have a team that could be challenging for first place in there. And then if you look at what Harbaugh could potentially bring to this Chargers team, because they do have some draft picks, is he's going to get to approach this similar to how Pete Carroll did with Seattle. Is he's coming directly from college. He's going to have played against a lot of these second and third rounders, fourth rounders that other scouts aren't necessarily going to have the best information on, right? Like scouts are going to focus a lot on the top side of their board. And then the bottom side of the board gets a little bit, soft because you don't spend as much time on those, those potential recruits, I guess, potential draft picks. Whereas when you looked at when Pete Carroll came in, they had a great first couple drafts, right? Because again, he knew all these guys firsthand from third and fourth rounders that are going to show out. So he gets to bring some of that element to it. Plus, I think he's going to have a little bit better luck with that defense than the supposed defensive genius that Brandon Staley was supposed to be, having one of the most expensive defensive units in the league and being one of the worst statistical defensive units in the league. That has to be coaching. It's not like you get that many dudes that are all pro level guys and they just forget how to play football. So I think he has a pretty good team that he gets to come into in a division that isn't as strong as it's been. And he gets an inside track on some of these draft picks. I think that could be a smart acquisition.
Reggie, I know you're a great fan of Coach, so I'm gonna let you get I'm gonna let you let you get yours off here, Reggie.
Oh, on a side note, I do think he's kind of an asshole, though. So I mean, there's that.
Thanks for stealing my thunder, bro.
that seems to be the line on the guy, right? It seems to be the big knock is that people just don't seem to like the guy. I think it's a good fit as any. When when you're looking at these coaches, a lot of these guys are crapshoots. So you don't know how any of these guys are really going to turn out. And if you can take a big swing, why not take it in a city like LA? You're already the second stepchild there anyway. You might as well do something to try to up your cachet in that city. And I think a hiring of Jim Harbaugh at least goes some way to help do that. And also, I agree with the guys where it just seems to be underwhelming results for a team that's a great team player-wise. So I think hopefully he gets something better out of them than Staley did, because every Staley got blamed for everything under the sun that happened there. Every bad throw, every single thing that happened. Staley, he's horrible. Get him out of here. So I'm hoping he can at least change some of that narrative. I think he has more of the cachet to take that on, being his track record that he's bringing to the game. Staley had no track record, so he couldn't bring that same thing to the game. It's going to be hard to level those kind of accusations against Harbaugh, a guy who's had more success than a lot of guys on this roster have had. So I guess we'll get a chance to see. I think this is a decent fit for them.
I mean, he's had more success than the Chargers have had
in general, as a whole entire franchise.
Right.
Exactly.
Dave.
Yes.
Dave already talked about this. It's my turn. I'm jumping in. Okay, so I'm gonna set my green and white bias aside for a minute.
Oh man, so nice of you.
No, I'm not. Never. No, I'm not.
Oh.
Here's the deal, because Bo already said it, right? So I'm not even being that guy. Here's the truth. We always say, "Oh, he's a winner. He's won everywhere." First of all, separate college and pros. When you are the head coach of a university, those recruits, you run that. You run the college. That's a different coaching job. In the NFL, you're coaching grown-ass men, right? So when you hire Jim Ball to coach your professional team, and there's a bunch of people in San Francisco that will vouch for what I'm about to say, you've got a 4-year window before everybody in LA County hates his fucking guts.
Yeah, no doubt.
He is going to burn through them, right? They're grown men. They're not recruits. He's not at Michigan. Who's got it better than us? Blah, blah, blah. No. These are grown men who make more than you, who don't need you to teach them, who don't need you to inspire them. No. He's going to burn out because that's what happens. He actually did that at Stanford. He absolutely did it in San Francisco. And Michigan was unique. That's his alma mater. They think he's God there. He could have done anything there. In fact, he did a whole bunch of shit there. The NCAA is going to tell us about it. Don't worry. Right?
It's one of the reasons he's probably in LA right now.
That's why it's getting out. He asked the university for an immunity clause, essentially saying, if some shit comes along, I don't get fired. Because he knows, right? So we got to take out the 9 years at Michigan because that's a different animal. He burned out San Francisco.
It's exactly why I made the parallel to Pete Carroll.
Exactly.
Because that is exactly how he left SC.
Exactly. Right. Got out of Dodge before the cops showed up and let everybody else go to jail. That's what's about to happen in Ann Arbor. And nobody on this podcast, nobody in the state of Michigan, nobody in America is going to love that more than your boy. I'm just going to watch it all happen. But he's going to burn out. So if you're, I almost called him San Diego. Damn. If you're the Chargers, right, you got a 4-year window. That's it. You're going to be good. You're going to be good next year. You'll probably be really good for 2 years after that because you do have a franchise quarterback. And then somewhere around year 4, you're going to start hearing grumblings that organizational fit and the stuff you hear when
I think Frank Reich would take that 4 years, by the way.
I agree. But that's what it is.
I was going to ask you what the over-under was on 5 years.
Yeah. No, I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the under on most coaches in the NFL.
It's 4.5, and I'm taking the under 4.5. There's no way Harbaugh's the coach with the Chargers 5 years from now. I would bet anything that means something to me. No way.
I mean, they had to give him stupid money, though, right? Because I hadn't seen the contract information. But, I mean, if he turned down the, 150 that was offered to him at Michigan, like, it had to be a pretty legit contract.
Cops are on their way to Ann Arbor, though. You can hear the sirens.
Gracious.
That moment where you're the crook and you first hear the sirens, that's where he is right now. They hear the sirens. Cops are on their way to Ann Arbor. He snuck out the back door, jumped down the fire escape, jumped in an Uber in the alley, and he gone.
Yep.
That's what he did.
Turns out it was a noise dispute down the road, but hey,
Right? Might be, you might not, but yeah.
Don, what did you think about the hire?
Well, I just read an article online that it talked about comparing college versus professional coaching football, and when it rained, the pros and cons of having to recruit and family time. Coaching professional football to me would be more appealing than college. I like the college game more than I do professional, but if I were a coach, I would want to go pro because you're not having to depend on like 18, 19-year-old kids. You're like someone said previously, you're dealing with grown ass men, and how you can relate to them takes a big leap of faith in some cases. I'm not as anti-Harbaugh as some of you guys are. I can give or take. I can take.
Some of our guy is,
but I do think that maybe he might have learned something in Michigan about. Yeah, but I think tell me if I'm wrong. I think within probably 3 years he'll have them in the playoffs, and then he might get run out of town after that. But he has shown that he can coach football. He knows the game. Maybe he's grown as a coach from the last time he's in the league. I don't know, but I was impressed what he did at Michigan. Now you can say, well, he kind of played loose with some of the rules and regulations and all that. That's probably true, but the dude is 3-0 against Ohio State the last 3 years. And no Michigan coach has done that in quite a while. So
because you knew all their damn signals, me and Bo could have pulled that shit off.
Oh my goodness!
I gotta be quiet. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. That's my bad. Bo called him an asshole. I'm not the one. Bo's the one that called him an asshole. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I like that you immediately lumped me in there. You're like, no, I ain't going down by myself.
Let me say.
Demetrius went down the fire escape, got in the Uber, and called the police on Bo.
I'm sorry, Don.
Week two next year, Texas goes to Ann Arbor and plays Michigan. Yes. I feel a lot better about that game now than I did when Harbaugh was there. I think Texas wins that one.
So do I.
I think they would have anyway because they're losing half their roster to the draft.
Don, let's see, 3 years. I really want to see if the Chargers make it to the playoffs in 3 years.
I think they will.
Huh?
Hey, remember, it was
impossible.
Remember, it was 2 or 3 years ago when Demetrius was telling us that the Lions will be in the playoffs, and here they are. They're in the NFC Championship. Remember that, Demetrius? You were talking about
2 years ago. I said they win the North, and they're
But
absolutely.
I don't see a Charger fan on this panel. Demetrius is a Detroit Lion fan, and it came to fruition. But we'll see. Like I said, I don't have that much faith in Harbaugh in the professional ranks. Like,
he lasted 4 years in San Francisco, so that's probably
and took them to a Super Bowl. That's not a bum.
Dave, he was tolerated 4 years.
That's it right there.
Well,
by the time it was time to go,
Super Bowl,
they
I'll
couldn't wait
tolerate
for
that
his
down in
ass to get
Atlanta.
out of town.
If somebody gets us to the Super Bowl, I'll tolerate that as well.
I hear you.
Reggie, there's been Raheem Morris and Bill Belichick and a few others that have interviewed for that Falcons position. What's going on? And why isn't there as much interest in Bill Belichick as we all thought there would be?
I don't know what's going on. And one of the things that I have a question about in general is that we've interviewed 14 people. 14 people we've interviewed down here for this job. And we had a second interview scheduled for Harbaugh before the Chargers hired him. So we had a second interview that was scheduled for him. So I don't really know what they're looking for, to be honest with you, because to go 14 interviews and to end up with some random coordinator from no-name coordinator from somewhere, which is the pure Atlanta thing that we like to do down here. It's interesting to me because I'm not sure what they're looking for. You can't, in sports, guys, you can't research the risk out of the pick, right? You can research it. But eventually you just got to make a pick and hope it's the best pick. And I feel like that's what we're going to have to do here eventually. I think that it's like a game of musical chairs, right? Eventually we're going to have to settle on a coach if we don't exactly get the one that we were looking for. The Bill Belichick situation is interesting to me, especially because there was a lot of momentum for it down here. Then there wasn't. And from what I'm hearing, they're saying it's an exec situation where the execs didn't want him down here or something like that. I'm not really sure what that's about. I understand not wanting the GM Belichick, but I want the coach Belichick. You know what I mean? I mean, the GM Belichick has not earned the right to get another job.
Yeah.
The coach Belichick has earned the right to get another job. He should be able to go where he wants to go. So I'm not sure if what he's asking for. I would need more information to hear what his ask is from organizations that he's going to. I'm pretty sure he wants to bring some of his people with him when he comes. That means somebody's losing their job as soon as he definitely gets to whatever organization he's going to. Maybe they weren't comfortable with that. But I don't know. To pass on Bill Belichick and hire some random person, I'm just not gonna really get that.
Do you think they did it because they were still in the Harbaugh sweepstakes? Because I think there's a lot of teams that have been dragging their feet a little bit, hoping that maybe they get that golden ticket. And now that it's decided, you start seeing some guys get locked into teams.
Yeah, maybe they circle back. I can see that circling back to those second picks. But I feel like if Harbaugh was their pick, we would have heard more about him on the momentum side, because the fact that they already had him in means that you could have had him in for a second. You could have been more aggressive there. You could have had him in for that second interview the same time that you had Belichick. You had Belichick's second interview before you had Harbaugh's second interview. So I don't know why you didn't have him in.
That could be one of those where it's like Deshaun and the Browns. You know, it's kind of you take the interview, you look at it, and you're like, I don't think I want to go there. And then in his case, they're like, we'll give you all the money, and he decided to go. Whereas, you know, I don't think Atlanta was ready to do that. And you know, at the end of the day, it seemed like Harbaugh really wanted to be in LA anyway. But
side note,
and I heard the Chargers were going to be very aggressive with that.
The Lions interviewed a dozen candidates 3 years ago. Before they
got to Campbell?
Before they settled on Campbell. They interviewed 12.
Well, I'm hoping that we get a situation like that and we get our Dan Campbell down here. I mean, I'm
could
hoping
be due
something
diligence.
like that.
Yeah, you're looking for a specific quality in someone, you just haven't found it yet. And when you see it, you see it.
I mean, it's not the same, but the Steelers interviewed like 15 people before they settled on an internal candidate, Nomar Khan, for general manager. Now, that was for general manager, but I think Demetrius used the right words, due diligence.
I'm hoping that the Seahawks are going to be doing a lot of interviews, because the list of the ones that just came out that have interviews over the next few days are drudging the bottom of the pond. And I don't feel extraordinarily excited about the names that I saw released today.
Is Dan Quinn on the list? I thought Quinn was the shoe-in for that. I thought it was his job to lose.
Quinn is on the list, but check this list out real quick. And then you'll understand why I am super excited about it. So we got, well, let's just start it off with a banger. They're going to talk to Mike Kafka for the second time on a offense that was bottom 5 in every notable.
Goodness gracious, man.
So that makes you feel good. And then you got the Raiders DC, Patrick Graham. They've had their best defense in years, and it was 26th. Awesome. Do this. All right. So then we got Dan Quinn, right? That's the enemy we know.
That should be your guy, man.
Right. Then we have the Rams DC, Raheem Morris. Not exactly.
Okay.
Not exactly.
They got him down here too. Like they've been talking to him down here. I'm not super excited about.
He
that.
Deserves another chance. He deserves another
chance on that.
And then to cap this gem of a list off, right? We're gonna interview the Panthers DC, because hot damn, that was a good unit.
Maybe he had lunch with Sean
Goodness
McVay, had lunch with him or something. Because all you gotta do is have lunch with Sean McVay, and you get a coach. You get an interview for a coaching job.
And these are all for HC, man. These aren't even like position coaches. You're just like, oh wow.
I wonder
think
why
you get to
those
do the diligence.
teams, out of all the 32, like why those teams are you
because there aren't,
sniffing around on the sidelines of the Panthers and the Raiders?
right? Well, only because there's not 34 teams. These are the worst ones they could find.
That
So-
Panthers staff? What are we doing? Give me the list of the Panthers coaching staff. But like what Dave said earlier, the
How are
Lions
they
interviewed
interviewing for
10
anything?
10 GMs before they got Brad Holmes and 12 coaches before Dan Campbell.
Hey,
So
guys, hey, real quick, a name you're not hearing, but it's a name you should be looking out for is Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator
DC.
for the Lions. Aaron Glenn, I think, would be an outstanding coach.
No, he wouldn't. He
Hit.
sucks. He's horrible.
I liked him on Hard
He's
Knocks when I was watching.
horrible. I don't think anybody should
that
hire him.
Lions Hard Knocks was pretty good.
Horrible.
I
No,
like
what
Nobody
is
him.
should
it?
hire him.
We said nobody should hire him. Maybe
sucks.
stay with the
He's
Lions.
horrible. Nobody should give him a head
And that's the
coaching job.
sidelines you should be sniffing around on right there. Sniff around on that sideline right
They're
there.
both probably gone.
So,
We've already
so
accepted
everybody,
it. They're both gone.
everybody's going to be, interviewing the coordinators from the teams that are still in it.
They
Obviously.
both had 4 interviews already. They both had
Yeah.
4 interviews over the weekend. We
And
already
you're
accepted.
going to lose. You know you're going to lose at least one.
Yeah,
Right.
Ben Johnson's gone. I think Johnson's out of there.
Yeah, he's long gone. Yeah,
I think the issue with Belichick, back to him, is how do you separate the GM from the coach? And
Right.
I think
That's the
that's
thing.
probably a concern.
That's the thing.
Man,
And then the other thing is he's like, what, 26 games or 24 games away from having
think
the
it's that
most
many.
wins
I think
of
it's
the
I was
only
like
NFL.
14. It's like
yeah,
I think it's only 14.
15.
Yeah.
14, 15 games away from Shula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
okay. I thought he only had 302.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 14.
So my issue with going after Belichick is if he's going to try and bring that culture with him, that takes time to build. How much time do you have with Bill?
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Not
He's
that much.
71.
Right.
In
That's
4
what-
years, he's going to be
Exactly.
75.
We're not supposed to say that kind of stuff in 2024. That's not cool. You're
that's
absolutely,
what's
you're
reality.
absolutely
On
right,
this show.
guys.
We're
You're absolutely
talking
right.
important stuff here.
No,
Denise.
But the host of the
Bashing on
show,
this
I think the host of the show is 74. So I'm saying, watch what you
No.
say.
Yeah, but
No.
he's,
He
but
would
he's not
jack
trying
you
to
up.
build a culture.
The host of the show will be 77.
Oh my
Next
God!
month.
Look at that.
Okay.
So, but-
Okay.
so
Happy
he's like,
birthday, my friend.
exactly. So like, Belichick's got 5-6 good years left, right, James?
Yeah,
At
man.
least.
Yeah, the young
At
spring,
least.
spring
At
chicken
least.
out there, man.
I mean, he might have to do it from a rascal, but I mean,
Hey, wasn't Dion? Dion is coaching from a rascal, basically.
there you go. Don, what do you think about the Belichick situation? Do you think he's going to get a job?
Man, I don't know.
I kind of talked myself in the fact that Jerry Jones was going to make a change and hire Belichick because Belichick is the shiny object out there.
Yep.
I mean, I can see it happening, but apparently Jerry Jones wants to keep living in mediocrity. So that's just par for the course. But someone's going to take Belichick just on name alone.
I agree.
he doesn't
I
have
wish it was.
Brady.
I wish it was Jerry Jones. I'm here for that dumpster fire.
Yeah, I would love that one.
Every week, Sue's Corner
Oh,
starts
man.
with Jerry Jones.
100%. I am bringing the marshmallows. We are roasting them things up. Like,
Oh my goodness. Dave, let's talk about the Eagles. Now, they haven't fired their head coach, but they did fire all of his assistants. Now, Patrick,
It's too funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Matt Patricia is gone. Belichick guy. Brian Johnson is Gone, and Ron Rivera is interviewing for the defensive coordinator. What's your thoughts on the Eagles there, Dave? Did Sirianni get off easy here?
He may have gotten a temporary hiatus depending on what the Eagles do in the next couple of years. And, this is the first step. Okay. We're going to keep you, replace your coordinators. Now, if they have another collapse like this next year or the year after, then he may be gone. and that's, this is just like an incremental step. As far as Ron Rivera, I like the guy. I think he would be. It'd be nice to have him in as a coordinator.
He's actually not going to be their DC. Vic Fangio got let go from the Dolphins earlier today, and
we're going to talk about that next.
He reportedly is going to be filling this job.
But even if they hired Ron Rivera as like a senior, kind of like what the Steelers did with Brian Flores, a year or two ago, bring him in. He's a good guy that brings people together. He's coached in Philadelphia before. Why not bring him in? And if it's not going to be as DC, he might be ready for a break after his time in Washington. So come in as a senior advisor.
He can come to Detroit after Aaron Glenn leaves. I'm a Ron Rivera guy. He could be our DC.
You like Ron?
I do. I mean, as a DC, yeah. I think he just. I don't know if it was my turn, but I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
There are certain teams, certain environments that are just toxic. It used to be the one in Detroit, Michigan. So it wouldn't matter who it came in. It was just toxic. The Washington Commander organization is still trying to shake off toxicity. It's like there was an old movie, I forgot what it was called, but it was about a nuclear deal. And they put Meryl Streep in a shower and they squeeze like a car wash power washer to wash you off when you get right. Anybody associated with that organizations, they got to be power washed, and that's gonna take years. So if you step into that, new ownership, there's still some residual, right? There's still some residual toxicity just in the area. It's like the Charlie Brown kid with the funk cloud following him. There's still a bit of that going on in DC, and I think. So Ron Rivera, I don't know if he could be accurately judged on anything that happened in Washington, D.C. during the time he was there. It's just not fair. I think that's a really good football coach. And I think that's our D.C. I'd be thrilled if we're on here in 3 weeks saying Ron Rivera is our D.C. because Aaron Glenn got a job. I'd be thrilled.
Don, what did you think about Sirianni keeping his job after the Eagles collapsed?
Well, to me, I mean, the guy was just in the Super Bowl, last year?
Yes.
You don't – I can understand, firing someone who actually, got to Super Bowl one year. And, yeah, they did kind of stumble this year, and I get that. But that's the nature of the game. I mean, you're playing a professional sport where any given Sunday you can lose. I mean – a lot of these teams are biting the dust. So, it's a sad world when you start, firing people after, 1 year removed from.
Or 43 games. We talked about this earlier. It doesn't matter. You could get fired. Is that right? You could get fired when you're a winning coach. It wouldn't have surprised me at all.
But, it's like a coworker I have at school who's, in her 60s. Just because you can wear spandex doesn't mean you should wear spandex.
Goodness gracious.
We're after dark, right? Oh, man.
Caught the straight.
That's confidence, though. That's confidence.
Random Betty at the school ain't messing with nobody. Just out here.
Yeah, it's confidence.
Hey, there's a reason
what
it
did
says
Mildred
juicy.
do to you? What did Mildred do to you, Doc?
You know her husband's listening, right, Don?
God doesn't care.
Reggie, go ahead.
I'm gonna echo what Don just said, except about the spandex. It's everything else. I have to co-sign what Don said. Like, there's these teams, especially being down here in Atlanta in this market where we've lost a lot. And I look at other teams that have these double-digit winning records and want to fire coaches. Like, they deserve double-digit winning records every year. Like, they're entitled to double-digit winning records every year. It's lunacy, in my opinion, because you set the bar so super high for what is the next guy got to do when he comes in here? And I feel like when you're getting to the Super Bowl, and sure, they collapsed down towards the end of the season. So I get it. It's the latest thing that people saw. So maybe people look at them and say, hey, we need to maybe look at making some changes. But I'm like, I had to go double check the record. Like, didn't they win 10, 11, 12 games last year? Like, they're not bums. And they win a Super Bowl. Like, you want to get rid of the guy now? And because you guys didn't win a playoff game, like Don said, any given Sunday, it can happen to anybody on any given Sunday. So to think that you are somehow deserved of double-digit winning records or deserved of playoff wins and Super Bowl appearances is very entitled, I think, for some of not necessarily just very necessarily fan bases, but some of these organizations who fire double-digit winning coaches.
Bo, put a bow on this before we talk about Fangio.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go to a Super Bowl or you win Coach of the Year, that generally gives you the latitude to be one more year, even if things are falling apart. But there were clearly some issues with that Eagles team. One, even in wins, they weren't playing particularly well. They backed into a lot of those wins, right? And then down the stretch, right, they go 10-1 to start. A lot of ugly wins, but they're still wins. And then you go down the stretch and they go, 1-6, or 1-5, something like that.
Yeah.
And then, get absolutely smoked in the playoffs. But there seem to be some fundamental issues with this team. So for them to be moving coaches around kind of made sense. You fire that DC throughout the year. You bring Patricia in because you didn't want to play defense anymore, I guess. And then you have your team going on like group events to try and team build three quarters of the way through the season. If you don't have chemistry 3/4 of the way through the season, guess what? It ain't happening. There's not enough time left. So I mean, there were some real issues with this team. So for coaches to be getting let go made sense. But the fact that he was in the Super Bowl last year, this is still a double-digit win season. Sirianni gets the pass there. It's the only reason his job was safe, though.
Good evening, Mr. Scott. How are you doing this evening?
Mr. Scott.
Very good. Very good, gentlemen. Very good. And Demetrius, very good.
Oh, man, catching strays.
It's all good. It's love. I know how that man feels about me. I ain't even worried about it.
Bo, talk to us a little bit about this Fangio situation. I thought it came somewhat of a surprise, but what were your thoughts on this?
So it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. This defense wasn't particularly great. Statistically, it didn't look horrible, but it came up small when it mattered. And they still won a lot of games because their offense is incredibly dynamic. But this was not a top flight defense by any stretch of the imagination. Besides the fact, they did have some talent on that side of the ball. So, they shouldn't have come up small in the spots that they did. The knock on them was they couldn't beat over 500 teams, and they legitimately couldn't do it. So, that's really a testament to the inability for the defense to get it done. So for them to want to move on makes sense. And then if he was going to go anywhere, the Eagles, oddly enough, need to upgrade from Matt Patricia, which I think just about everybody on the panel could probably do.
Look, Ranger Hayes would have been an update from that.
Right? So,
that would have been an upgrade.
So at that point, Vic Fangio, that works, right? If you can go from, essentially last down the stretch to meh, that's still an upgrade.
The odd thing, though, is that the defense that Desai/Matt Patricia ran is Vic Fangio's system. He's the godfather of it, but it is basically fundamentally the same system.
Sure.
So they fired the son and weird cousin and hired the dad.
Yeah,
it's all the same thing.
Think about it this way, though. If you can't read the facts, go to the original.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right? The copy is always, it's a little smudged, blurry, like it doesn't quite all get there. And then you look at the original and you're like, okay, that makes sense now. So maybe that's what they're trying to do. They want some clarity.
Yeah. And you know what? There's another thing. You have the overall scheme, but then you have the individual game prep with that scheme. and that might be the difference
That,
there.
I hope so. I believe it's talent on the field. So if you put the same set of players on the field, fundamentally in the same system, you're gonna largely get the same results. But you're right. There's a different guy calling the plays and doing the prep during the week. So maybe Fangio brings a different view.
I would take him down here in Atlanta. I think he had when I was looking at the Dolphins defense, I think they were like 10th. They weren't like bums when I was looking at what their overall defense was. And I would take Fangio, and I think they missed Bradley Chubb and Phillips. When Phillips and Chubb got hurt in the season, I think that hurt them as a team. I think you missing players of that caliber, then I think that'll happen to any team.
And that's why if you look at the stats, they didn't look terrible. It's where they came from that I had my, because I mean their defense overall, especially statistically, looked good because they played a lot of bad teams.
I almost think their defense got hurt by their offense. Like their offense was so good that I think people had because I think, like you said, you take them. I think a lot of people would take them.
Yeah, I definitely would take Fangio down here.
Sure.
I don't think their defense was horrible. I just think their offense was so good. Well, no, at the end of the day, it's what Bo said. They didn't beat anybody good.
Yeah.
When they played good teams, they lost.
And that's why I said I thought their defense was okay, right? Like it was like it's middle of the road, which with a team like what Atlanta's building or the Eagles, based on just the roster, good is good enough for that kind of team because you have enough playmakers. Like if Atlanta goes and gets a stud quarterback, that team's going to be no joke because they have a good defense, they have some weapons. If you get competent coaching and you get competent quarterback play, they probably win their division. So
yeah, we were right behind them ranking wise, like literally like right behind the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it when it comes to the Eagles, very similarly, like they got dudes over that entire roster. That defense is half of the Georgia Bulldogs national championship team from last year. Like,
yeah, they're underperforming for sure.
With some decent coaching, they should be a solid unit, even if they're not elite.
Mr. Scott, what did you think about the Eagles keeping their head coach and firing all of his assistants?
Well, as soon as I saw Patricia, that's the end of that. As far as
Goodness gracious. All the Patricia love on this show today.
Everybody saw that, and they just lost steam. They just it was just like a balloon, air going out. I mean, as they marched toward the end of the season, they just looked worse and worse. And I guess it's the coaching, but I mean, they have the talent, but I don't know what happened to them. I really don't. I mean, they started really playing with their food at the end, and it just that was the end of it for them. Now they're still a good team now. Now they get some changes. I mean, they're still going to probably win the division, but they're not the juggernaut I thought they were.
So what gives? Why would Nicky treat it?
Bo, the Bears hired Sean Waldron as their new offensive coordinator.
Yep.
What was the knock on him in Seattle? And who do you think he'll be calling plays for? Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, or maybe somebody else?
Oh man, that is a good question. You need a crystal ball and a Ouija board to figure out what the Bears are doing. But as far as Shane Waldron's concerned, it's not a bad pickup for them. He got a lot of hate in Seattle because that unit underperformed, despite the fact they were still a top 10 scoring offense. Despite the fact they didn't have an offensive line that could stay healthy. They didn't have their desired offensive line until week 16, right? That's not exactly a great way to win games. And he was dialing up all kinds of random stuff. Like he was doing 13 personnel. So, he had 3 tight ends trying to help block because the offensive line couldn't get it done. So, people were complaining that it wasn't, real imaginative offense. And it's like, well, yeah, because half of your guys that can make plays are in blocking. Right? Like how imaginative are you going to get with 3 guys that are open? So and then Geno still didn't have any time. So I think he is getting let go from Seattle, not because he necessarily deserved to be. I think he was actually doing okay, just based on what he was trying to overcome. That being said, with a whole new regime coming into Seattle, he was probably getting fired anyway. So, but I don't think it's going to be a horrible pickup for the Bears. Since Eberflus somehow kept his job, which is also mind-boggling, they're probably keeping Fields, I guess. I mean,
hope so.
It's funny because you look at it one of two ways, right? You either double down on Fields and hope he's the dude because that's the only thing saving your job, or you convince your GM, hey, we need to go a different route because then maybe you get 2 years, right? I mean, so I still think it could go either way, but if there was ever a misstep, the Bears are going to take it. So that's pretty much how I feel there.
Mr. Scott, what changes do you see for the Vikings coming next year?
Well, first of all, I hope nobody snatches Flores from out of here, a defensive coordinator. As long as that stays intact. Cousins, you're coming off that injury. I mean, it's like him and the guy from Green Bay that's out in New Jersey. The division I think is still theirs I think they're still the best team in the division. I know the Lions have had their, but that's going to run out. Their thing has come to an end. That train stops.
This is a fucking joke. What are we doing, man? It's a fucking joke. What are we doing, James? What are we doing?
We're talking about the Vikings.
Yeah.
No, why the fuck are we talking about the Vikings? Is my question.
Vikings, yeah.
I think you need to mute this. I'm sorry. You guys are with me, right? I think everybody agrees.
The Vikings, they play in the NFL, man. They're a pretty good team.
Let's talk about really good.
Would you let me finish? I mean,
we beat them twice. We're in the NFC Championship game.
Come on, Demetrius. Come on, Demetrius. Come on.
Cousins will be healthy. Jefferson, we got the greatest receiver in the league. Now, if they can just run the ball, and I've heard something, I think this might make JK3 have a conniption. Derrick Henry might be on his way to Minnesota.
You don't
That's
use the
interesting.
running back.
What are you starting? What do you got? A
Very
senior
interesting.
citizens club going up there? Should I come up? Maybe I should come up and check.
He's going to be an improvement of who do they have. They don't have nobody else. I mean, I'll take Derrick Henry over who they have there now.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, but if they had Madison can run. You just got to actually hand him the ball.
Well, he needs holes too. I mean, he needs to run. But yeah, I think it's looking good for the Vikings. If Cousins gets back, there's some controversy whether he may be going somewhere. You see all these outlandish rumors. He's going to go to Atlanta and Belichick. They're going to start a whole thing down in Atlanta. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Cousins will be here. I think we're going to fix the running game. Flores is going to keep this defense going. I don't know if Harrison Smith is going to play another year. He's talking about he might retire. But yeah, I think we're in good shape in this division. I think we are the jewel. But I'm scared of the Packers now. The Packers should have won that game. They actually should have won the game. The guy catches it. If he catches that interception right in his hands and they can make a field goal, they win the game.
Yeah.
So you don't fear the Lions, is what you're saying, Mr. Scott. You're not scared of the Lions, evidently.
I need to say it again.
I would love to see Demetrius and Mr. Scott sitting side by side at a championship game.
Oh man, yeah, I'd buy tickets to that.
Along with the entire Minnesota Viking roster, who's going to be watching the Lions in that game on Sunday. Yeah, all of them are welcome to come to my house. He can bring Justin Jefferson. He can bring Kirk Cousins. He can bring Brian Flores. All they asses can watch the game at my house because the Lions are going to be playing. And they're
so nice of you, man. That's very
I'm a
amazing.
generous dude, man. I'm saying
Absolutely.
they're all welcome to the crib.
You see what he didn't tell you is he's still charging for parking though.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I saw a very interesting comment, and I'm going to ask you and Don to comment on this because Jeff Saturday said that Dak Prescott should demand an immediate trade to the Falcons.
I'll take them.
That didn't take long.
I mean, look at who we
Reggie,
have. Are you kidding me?
Who have you turned down, Reggie, tonight? Who would you turn?
I'll take Belichick. I will take Dak. I will take Kirk Cousins. I don't want Justin Fields. And that's about where I'm at. I mean, I'm gonna get out of here after this, guys. But I would take. I think Dak is underrated in the sense of it's hard to find competent signal callers. And when you look around the league at the teams that don't have them, you don't think the New York Jets will love a Dak Prescott? Look at what's going on over there. Look at what's going on with some of these teams that have nobody at quarterback. The Raiders, there's so many teams that have zero people that when a guy, what did Dak throw for? Did he throw for over 4,000 this year? I think he was doing pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think he's right around there.
So I don't think he's like a complete bum. I do get it. Sometimes it's time for a change of pace, and maybe with Dallas, and Dallas is such a red hot team in the sense of they're gonna want him out of there. Last year, they've been wanting him out. I don't know who else they want to get to upgrade, but I think that you're gonna find that it's harder to upgrade from certain players than you think it is. Like, you're going to bring in a guy, you jettison a guy who had over 4,000 yards and you bring in another guy hoping that he's going to do better. We had that situation with Matt Ryan down here. We had a lot of Matt Ryan haters the last 2 to 3 years, and the guy just throws for over 60,000 yards and has a Hall of Fame career. And now you bring in the Desmond Ritters of the world and you wonder what's happening. Like, so I would take him down here. The price matters depending on how much money he wants. It would matter. But, I would still take him, though, along with a plethora of others.
Don, what have you heard? Is Dallas, is he on the trading block? I mean, what is Dak's future in Dallas?
Well, so Dak got a lot of heat from his last game. But let's just face it, CeeDee Lamb dropped 3 passes. Now, those passes that he dropped, one was like I think a 38, 40-yard reception. The other 2 would have been first downs, and it killed Dallas drives. And so when you got guys like Lamb dropping passes, it goes against the quarterback stats, But, I mean, the ball hits your hands, you got to catch the ball, right? I am a big Dak Prescott fan. Because I am a Prescott fan, he does need to get out of Dallas. I like to see him go somewhere else. Atlanta would be great. I think, if they would utilize Bijan a little bit more than they did this year, that would be great for
Absolutely.
Atlanta. But the problem with Dallas isn't Dak. It's never been Dak. It's always been who. JJ.
Probably Mr. Jones there. Absolutely.
Yes. It's he just demands attention, and he's a distraction. When he comes out of his box and gets on the sidelines and starts talking to reporters, he's the only owner in the NFL that does that. I think I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you who owns the Atlanta Falcons, because you know what, that guy's out on TV all the time talking. I can tell you. Who owns the Chargers. I can tell you who owns the Seahawks. I have no freaking clue. I know who owns Dallas. So stop being distraction. Hire a real general manager, someone who knows what they're doing, and sometimes it's best to have a hands-off approach.
Hey guys, I'm going to get out of here, but I want to leave y'all with this real quick as my final thought.
I want your picks too.
You mean for the weekend, for the games on the weekend?
Weekend games coming up.
You know what? So let
I
me
only
do
want
that,
for one. I don't give a damn about the other.
I think that with I like San Francisco, but I think that the bigger story would be Detroit. Like, I think people would love to see Detroit. It's like it's a story, like a team that sucked for an eternity. They kind of gets over the hump, and then it beats a team that seems to be residually in the championship games. So I do like that. Lamar, I love Lamar, so I'm not going to root against them. Even though I don't bet against Mahomes, I would never put money against Mahomes, but I do hope that Lamar pulls that off. And piggybacking on my last thought on this Dak Prescott situation, guys, 45-16 on the yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 105.9 passer rating. You can win a lot of championships with a quarterback putting up numbers like that. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I will see y'all next time.
All right, Reggie.
See you, brother. All right, guys.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Reggie.
Anybody else want to comment on that Dak situation?
No, I hope he gets paid the biggest salary, resets the market. Let's watch that star burn some more.
Let's see. One more topic here before we get into our scores, our predictions. The Titans, they hired the Bungles offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan, as their new head coach. Uh, do you think Derrick Henry will be back, or do they go find a youthful replacement? And do you think that the Titans may seek a quarterback in the later rounds? Later rounds meaning round 3 and over. Dave.
Well, the thing with Derrick Henry is age, and the thing with running backs, you just don't overnight with running backs. That 30-year age, they have a sudden drop off. Now that doesn't happen to every running back, but that's kind of the story with most running backs. Once they hit 30, then they just drop off, and it's not like you're going from 1,000-yard seasons to 750. It's like you go from 1,000 to 200. So I think it really depends between the Titans and what their evaluation is. Do they think how much gas does he still have in the tank? But if it were me, I would say that, hey, why not look for a young running back? And they're a little bit more fungible than, say, quarterback is. So, my thought there is, they could probably free up some money, go with the younger running back, and, maybe have a drop off, but not as severe a drop off as you would if you were switching out quarterbacks.
Bo.
Yeah, I think I think they like what they have at quarterback at the moment. Yeah, I mean, you have to move on from Henry at this point. Age, he's been hurt as of late. He isn't the dynamic back that he was. Now, if you could get him for cheap to stay, then sure. And that may very well be the case because no teams are paying running backs anymore anyway. So maybe they can get him for, close to what a vet minimum might be. But if you can't, then yeah, I mean, you have to draft. You got to start the rebuild process of this team. They've already started putting younger players in, and running back, you're going to be able to find one of those in the mid rounds. Everybody seems to. So if you can get Henry cheap, you keep him. If not, yeah, you definitely move on.
Mr. Scott, you said you were in the market for Derrick Henry. If they don't,
yeah, it would be an improvement. I mean, I like Madison. I was disappointed, with the year he had. I don't know exactly what brought that on. I thought he was going to do a good job. They did too, but we missed Dalvin Cook, who did absolutely nothing with the Jets. And it's like, as Don was saying, the drop off with these backs. I mean, what happened to Dalvin Cook? And I don't know. I think he went to Baltimore. I didn't see if he played in that game.
He had a couple carries, I think, too. Maybe three.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah. So I think I'd like to have Henry up here at the Vikings because I think Vikings are championship caliber, and I still think that if we could get enough out of Henry to go with Madison and Ty Chandler, I think we'd be in good shape. But I think his time in Tennessee probably has run out because these guys want money, and then all of a sudden now they kind of have to go with he'll probably have to take some incentives or something to go with a different team. So we'll see.
Dave, I was listening to you guys on Monday, and you had some very interesting comments about the exiting comments from some of the Steelers. I was especially thinking about Najee Harris because he was talking about running backs getting paid. And I don't see in the present scheme of things Najee getting a bag. But what did you think about some of the exiting remarks from the Steelers, Dave?
Well, I'll start with Najee. One of the big things with Mike Tomlin, they say he's never lost a locker room. one of the comments that Najee Harris made was about needing more rules and regulations. But even more than that, underneath is he indicated that he had talked to Mike Tomlin and Coach T told him focus on being a running back, which I was like, wow. You know, he wanted a coach with some concerns. And basically, here was a guy that just a year ago was captain of the team, and he was told, go focus on being a running back rather than what's going on inside the locker room in terms of rules and regulations, whatever Najee meant by that. But TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, two of the senior, most respected members on the team, they gave very full endorsements of Mike Tomlin. He's going to continue coaching. I think for Najee, the question is are they going to give him his 5th-year extension? And I think that they will. It just makes sense for them. It just gives him one more year. And then will he get a second contract? Maybe he'll get a second contract with another team when it comes down to it. But I think that he will get a 5th-year extension. You know, the other thing for the Steelers is who's going to be their offensive coordinator. They've asked permission to talk to Zach Robinson. And there's been some reports of other people that the Steelers are interested in talking to. Terrell Austin will remain as the defensive coordinator, it appears, although they lost one of their assistants, Gerald Alexander, to the Raiders. And the Steelers lost the best arm in Pittsburgh because Marcel Pastor, the strength and conditioning coach, retired. And for the Steeler fans, if you've ever seen this guy at training camp, he can throw the ball a country mile. He could outthrow most quarterbacks, this Marcel Pastor. But he stepped down as strength and conditioning coach. So I guess similar to the Eagles, not quite to the same extent, but they're having to replace coaches underneath of Mike Tomlin. And that's probably being directed from above. You know, that has to happen. Little side note, Matt Canada, he hasn't interviewed with anybody for offensive coordinator. But Mike Sullivan actually was interviewed by 2 different teams for offensive coordinator, and he was the quarterback's coach that was doing the play calling after Matt Canada got fired. Wow, that surprises me. But I expect to see quite a few coaching changes, and then the quarterback situation. That's going to be interesting next year.
Yeah, it really should be. I'm interested in seeing how our quarterback room changes. All right, guys, let's talk about the playoffs before we get into our predictions. Let's see. Saturday, Mr. Scott, the Texans 10, the Ratbirds 34. I thought momentum changed when the Texans missed that field goal. I think if they went in there into halftime with a 13-10 score, it might have played a little different. I'm not saying that the outcome would have been different, but I think it might have been a little closer. Your thoughts on the games and the Texans, Mr. Scott, and is Jackson your MVP?
Yeah, Jackson, I believe, is the MVP. I think Jackson, he's been boasting. He's been out there. He wants this thing. Yeah, I agree with you on that game. The first half, it really looked like, the young Houston team with their young quarterback, it looked like they could kind of play with him. But after halftime, like you say, the miss and there's just it was too much different in quality of the teams and on the road too. But I think Houston has a bright future. They got a great quarterback. They're putting a lot of talent together down there, so they're going to be an interesting team to watch. They're going to be an interesting team to watch.
Don.
Yes.
What did you think? Did you, like I said, I thought the momentum changed when they missed the field goal. And is Jackson your MVP?
Yeah. So Lamar Jackson is MVP hands down. I am a big fan of C.J. Stroud. I like this young man, but his time has not come yet. That's the guy you need to watch out for. I think he's the AFC version of Brock Purdy. Young guy, and he's a competitor, stone blood killer. But I think you're right. I think that missed field goal kind of changed the complexion. But Baltimore is so damn talented. You're not gonna. It's going to take a special team to beat them. So Texans just aren't there yet. But they exceeded expectations. They're they're the best team in Texas. I mean, I think they beat the Cowboys. So I'm high on the Texans in the next few years. But yeah, Baltimore is Baltimore. Lamar is going to be the MVP, and we'll probably see them in the Super Bowl. So that's my thoughts on that.
Bo.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore they're assembled to win now, and the Texans are ahead of schedule, right? Like they go worst to first in their division. They win a playoff game. They have looked incredibly smart with the way that they did their draft. They have cap space. They have more picks in this draft. Moving forward, this is going to be a very dangerous team. And did I think they were going to go all the way here? No. Again, there's so much young talent. They weren't going to be able to keep pace with a team, especially like Baltimore, that only gave up 280 points all season, right? That's first in the NFL. That is an incredibly low number for the NFL at this point. So I didn't think they were going to quite be able to hang. They did early, but I attribute some of that to the fact that, anytime you have a bye week, there's a little bit of rust coming off it for the playoffs. So they were a little slow getting going. And then, when it mattered, they put the game away. So, I like the Ravens moving forward, but if you're a Texans fan, you got to feel good about where you're at.
Dave.
Yeah, I think momentum is an important factor in games, but in this case, even if they had made that field goal, instead of being 34-10, the score would have been 34-13. Baltimore just has too many horses, and that second half, they just demonstrated that. And I've liked the Texans all season after they beat Pittsburgh. I wasn't expecting much from them, and it was like, wow. I like the coach. I like the quarterback. What they did in order to compensate for a lot of injuries that they had early in the season, that was impressive. And so I like this young Texans team, but Baltimore is just too strong.
Demetrius.
Yeah, I think the momentum changed when Lamar Jackson woke up Saturday morning. That was the moment. He's the best player in the league. He's playing his best football, and they've got the best defense of every team left. That was. I think Bo said it well. A Texans fan should feel good about what they're doing, but Baltimore was just too good. And to Dave's point, that game was eventually going to be what it was. They played 10 times. I'm picking Baltimore 10 times. Talent eventually, cream rises to the top, whatever goofy saying you want to use. That's what it was. So.
Okay, sticking with you, Reg. The Packers 21, the 49ers 24.
Fuck is Reg?
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all heard that. My bad. I thought I said that low. Oh, we good. I was just having fun. We're good.
He's on the couch behind you, actually.
I thought he snuck into the crib. I said,
the 49ers staged to come back without Debo. Stephen A says that Debo is the most important player on the team and that they can't beat the Lions without Debo. But what do you think? Is Brock Purdy the least of the four quarterbacks left in the playoffs, Demetrius?
Yes, in my opinion. And I know I'm biased, and that's fine. Don't even start it, Scott. Jared Goff's a really good quarterback. I don't even want to hear
they're
it.
all number one picks. Yeah.
All right, we'll get there. Sorry, James. So to answer your questions, No, Christian McCaffrey is the most important player on that team. If you
I
told me,
didn't say the most important. I said,
Oh.
is he the least of the 4 quarterbacks?
oh no, I'm sorry. I answered the Purdy question. Yes, he's the least of the 4.
Yeah.
I was answering the value of Debo question.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe if you would have told me, hey, you can remove anybody from that team for the Lions game, I would have gotten rid of Christian McCaffrey. That's my answer to that question. I'm not unhappy that Debo might not play. I'm not going to apologize, and nobody gives a damn, because if we lost somebody, nobody would give a damn. That's the way it works. They'll miss Debo. If Debo doesn't play, we have a better chance to win, pure and simple. Stage the comeback is a nice way to say it. I'm not going to do my ref thing, but I got a screenshot of a delay of game that wasn't called, right? The refs are horrible. And if Green Bay's essentially rookie quarterback doesn't do the thing on page 1 of the quarterback handbook, and I know what do you never do? Throw late over the middle. We all know this. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Mr. Scott, but years ago, Brett Favre was a Viking and blew their chance to go to the Super Bowl throwing late over the middle. You never do that. You just don't. And he did the number 1 cardinal rule you don't do. He threw late over the middle, and they missed a field goal. And Darnell Savage dropped that pick 6. Green Bay gave that game to them. Let's be honest. I wasn't impressed, and that's not because I'm a Lion fan and we're playing them. I simply wasn't that impressed.
If the dog hadn't stopped to doo-doo, he'd have caught the rabbit.
I don't even know what that means. I know that the refs missed a delay of game on a Christian McCaffrey touchdown. I know Darnell Savage dropped the pick 6. I didn't see any dogs doo-dooing. I know that they missed a field goal. That's what I know.
And we know that the Vikings did not make the playoffs.
The Vikings enjoyed watching the game at home. Yes.
Why these digs? Why digs on the Vikings? Why the digs?
Because of the digs
you
on
came
Mike
out
Tomlin.
here and said they were the best team in the North and they're going to go to the playoffs next year. A whole bunch of bullshit. You started the bullshit train. Exactly.
Oh, tapped out.
He started the bullshit train. Now he's mad at us because we done jumped on. We done jumped on the train now. We got popcorn and riding on the train with him, and he mad at us. Okay. All right. I was good.
He was basically saying they would have been the best team in the North with Stidham.
If the dog didn't doo-doo and chase a rabbit or whatever the hell that was about.
Mr. Scott, what did you think about the game? Did you think the Packers should have pulled it off?
I'm sorry, who's that question to?
That's Mr. Scott.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I really thought they had a real shot at pulling that off. I mean, just the mistakes. Like I say, the turnovers, those kind of things just really, really kill you. But I thought they had a very good chance of pulling out. The quarterback played very well for the most part. But yeah, they're another team kind of reminds you like of a Houston. I'm really scared of the Packers. I mean, they really look like they're kind of on the move. They made the playoffs. But yeah, I still think it's going to be a reset. When the Vikings get healthy, Flores gets his defense together. It's going to be.
Why are we talking about the Vikings? The question's about the 49ers. Well, why are we talking about the Vikings again?
There'll be a reset. So, but yeah, 49ers. They got Tampa Bay. You knew they were going to win that game. So, I mean,
what did you think, Don?
Well, so 2 months ago, James, I don't know if you remember this, but we can go back in the archives. You posed a question, when is Jordan Love going to make his come out party? And I said, just be patient. That kid's going to be good. And he showed. He made some mistakes, and he'll grow out of that. He'll learn. But the Packers they're for real. I mean, they beat the shit out of Dallas. So people keep talking about how good Dallas is, but I think Green Bay is a team to watch. They probably should have beat the 49ers. They probably should have, but things have a way of happening because, as we know, there's conspiracy in the NFL to have the 49ers and the Ravens to play. So I'm joking, by the way. That's a joke. I'm not.
I saw that color scheme. I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm not conspiracy. I'm not conspiracy theory.
It's a real thing.
But yeah, I'm high on Green Bay, and I like being able to like Green Bay now that Aaron Rodgers in there. Jordan Love. If I ever decide to play fantasy football, he might be one of my QBs.
Bo, did I get? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Green Bay definitely could have won this game. The Niners looked really sluggish coming in, right? I mean, they had 20 days off, so for their starters, they weren't exactly going to be firing all cylinders. Green Bay has a ton of momentum coming into this game, so this is something that they definitely could have won. But Love goes out there, channels his inner Brett Favre, and chucks it through the middle of the field. And I know you guys are saying he'll grow out of it, but Favre didn't. He did it his entire career. So, time will tell. But, yeah, I mean, they definitely gave the Niners a scare. Debo getting knocked out definitely helps the Lions this next week, because even though CMC is a huge factor, that's where I disagree with you a little bit, Demetrius, is that 3-game slide, they didn't have Debo, right? He was hurt. They had CMC. They had Kittle. They were out without Trent Williams. So, I mean, there was that. But they were without Debo. And that, for whatever reason, as smart as Shanahan is, his offense changes a lot when Debo's not in. And for the Lions, they got that secondary issue where you can beat them over the top. So with no Debo, that gives you a much better defensive alignment than if he's there.
Dave.
Yeah, 3-point game. I mean, and the 49ers are capable of being dominant, just dominant, and they weren't. And maybe it is because of the long break, as Bo was talking about. In terms of Brock Purdy, I would say, yeah, he's right now, he's the number 4 quarterback among those 4. But maybe in a couple seasons, he'll be right up there. He's just in his second season. He's a young guy. So I'm just looking to see what 49ers team shows up next week, because if it's the team that was playing the Packers, they might have their hands full.
Let's see. Dave, Sunday's game, Chiefs 24, Bills 21. Your thoughts on that game?
Wide right.
Right.
That's the Buffalo story. I mean,
Wow.
The kicker, he missed a kick against the Steelers, and he had one blocked. He had a kick blocked, and he was wide. Was it wide left? But regardless, he missed the kick against. But this kick was to tie the game. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. Apparently, he was getting death threats and all this kind of stuff, and there's no place for that. I mean,
Cat
Buffalo
Foundation is Cat Foundation earned almost $1 million?
Yep.
Well, good. I mean, but the reason that he's getting all that is because of sympathy, because of the threats that he was receiving.
Yep.
And that is just crazy. So, Buffalo, hey, they had a game that they could have won. I think that there was this one play I saw a screenshot, and I think it was Diggs was going across the middle with nobody around him.
I know.
Towards the end of the game, would have been a first down, and instead Allen went long, incomplete pass, and he had like a wide open Diggs underneath, and literally nobody near him for 10 yards around him. And he just must not have seen him. He just must have been looking downfield for the kill shot. The Chiefs, they're beatable. I mean, they are definitely beatable. And last week I was saying that the Buffalo fans were really looking forward to hosting them because they had lost in Kansas City. So I got to give credit to the Chiefs for gritting it out and winning in Buffalo. They're used to the cold anyway. I don't know if you guys heard the story out of Kansas City, this bizarre story about the 3 guys that froze to death outside at a watch party. I mean, just bizarre. But anyway, I think that the Chiefs they deserve to win, but they're vulnerable.
Mr. Scott, what did you think about that game, the Chiefs and the Bills, 24-21?
Yeah, yeah. The Chiefs, as I was saying, they've been playing with their food for the last 6 games or so. I mean, and they continue to do that. I mean, Mahomes keeps pulling the rabbit, the horseshoe. He continues to pull that out of, and so it's hard to go against him. It's hard to go against him, but yeah, the Bills, they blew one at home. That's probably a hurtful loss to them. And the Chiefs now, they got to deal with, we'll talk about that. The Chiefs, it's hard to go against either one of those two teams. It's hard to go against the Chiefs because the Chiefs pull it out. So that's just going to be very, very, very interesting. And didn't I beat Demetrius last week? Didn't I win?
You've never won. You've never won anything against me.
Wasn't there a victory?
So just forget that.
Demetrius wasn't here last week.
No, he's talking about the bet we made 2 weeks ago, and I won. The Rams Lions.
I covered though.
You what?
Well,
I don't do spreads. We picked our teams. I ain't Vegas.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? No,
I covered.
You're gonna have to go to the tape.
whatever.
it was a straight up bet.
That's what I recall. I don't.
Well,
But
Well,
Don,
I don't know that JK3 is an independent adjudicator.
I don't even think I
know.
care. My team's about to play in the
He's
NFC
somewhat
Championship
biased.
game.
I
I
mean,
don't give a damn. I got to be honest.
Don, what did you think?
Chiefs Bills.
Well, I think that Buffalo. I want to cheer for Buffalo. I really do. But again, right when you think that Josh Allen is going to, about to come back and all that, things just fall apart. The field goal is just the missed field goal is just another F up for Buffalo.
We're after dark, Don. No need to
I know. I'm being nice, bro. We've been doing this for years. What's going on?
You're usually the initiator.
Right.
In Kansas City, I swear to God, if I see Taylor Swift on TV one more time, I'm gonna throw a brick to the TV. I'm tired of that.
Oh,
shit.
you're a Dallas fan?
Oh.
But no, I just think that Buffalo is snake bit. When they get to the Super Bowl, they never win, and now they can get to the Super Bowl. Just snake bit, and so that's just my thoughts on that. It doesn't matter anyway because Baltimore is going to bend over Chiefs next week anyway, so it doesn't matter.
True.
Bo.
Yeah, the KC is a very beatable team, and this was a major letdown by this Bills team. KC has not necessarily played great offense all year. Their defense is significantly better than it's been, but the offense has been shaky at best, and the Bills had been playing very well. But you could see moments through this game that mentally they weren't as well equipped because roster-wise, they should definitely win. But that long pass to Diggs that gets dropped, hits him square in the hands. You could see their sideline go, oh, man, here we go, right? And that may have affected him looking at Diggs later in the game where he was wide open across the middle, and maybe he just wasn't trusting him anymore because there were multiple drops in this game. And, going for the field goal to tie it up, they really shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. So they get bailed out off of a really bad fake punt attempt by them fumbling through the end zone so they don't get burned on that. I mean, there were elements of this game that had it so that they still could have won, but mentally they just didn't look like they were the team that was prepared to beat KC. So, KC moves on, but, to Don's point, They're about to get smacked by the Ravens.
Demetrius, you want to finish this up? Here.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. We all are really smart football fans, and we've seen enough games to know that any one of us could pinpoint 4 plays in most games, right? It's a bell curve. There's your blowout here, your blowout there, but most NFL games are decided by like 5 plays, right? We talked about Packers 49ers. It's a dropped interception, it's a missed field goal, it's a late throw over the middle. It's 4 or 5 plays changed many games, right? And I think this is the same way. That miss where he didn't see Diggs was a really, really important play, right? And I think I probably saw the same footage that David saw. Josh Allen can play great all game. You've got to see that. I'm sorry, bro. You've got to see that. That is the game. And if you see that, he is running a crossing route and there's nobody. It's David can confirm. That's a 30-yard play. That might be a touchdown. That's the game. What it is it's the football game. So you can make all the plays for 3.5 quarters. If you don't make that play, that's why you're a quarterback. That's why you make the money. And that's why people think you're snake bit. Because I agree with Don. I don't know how you got to make that play, right? The Diggs drop sucked. The fake punt, you give it to Hamlin. I don't know what the hell that was. Nobody knows. But you could have gotten away with all of those things if he sees Diggs on the crossing route. We're not talking about any of those plays. If he sees Diggs on the crossing route. So snake bit, I'm starting to feel the snake bit thing. And I agree with the guys. It doesn't matter because Baltimore is about to jail sex Kansas City on Sunday. I mean, he said bent over.
I can't wait to get to these predictions here, boy. We only got 2 days to predict. But Demetrius, I'm going to let you make Mr. Scott sick, and I'm going to give you a chance to gloat over your win over the Bucs.
No, it's fine. Look, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Scott. All jokes aside, we mess with each other. I like that man. I like that man, right? We have fun. We just have fun on the podcast. Here's the thing about my team. I know we're not the better team on Sunday. I'm not going to try and trick y'all with some bullshit. Y'all know too much. I believe that the NFL, when you get to the good teams, and there's only 4 teams left, I use school grades. If the 49ers play a B- C+ game, we're going to the Super Bowl. Right? The 49ers play an A- game, we have to play the best game we played all year, and we can go to the Super Bowl. 49ers play an A game, we're going home. They're better. They're more talented, right? There's nothing we can do. But that's what football is. If the 49ers play the game they played, I'm going to echo David, play the game they played last Sunday against Green Bay, we win the game rather easily because there's some stuff we do really well. We run the ball well. Jared Goff's the best play-action quarterback in the league. We stop the run well. No, the data, Mr. Scott. I am a data guy. Somebody jump on their computer, pull up the advanced metrics, and tell this man I'm not pulling that out of my ass. Play action passes.
I can almost feel the wind off that eye roll.
I know. I felt it through the screen. And the data says in play action pass situations, I will say Jared Goff's the top 3 quarterback in the league. Now, I've watched every play he's played all year, and I will tell you that's true. It's why it's so important we run the ball. The short version of this goes, we absolutely have a puncher's chance. We're built for this. We absolutely have a puncher's chance. And if we come out and we play our best game, it's going to be a long day. We play our best, they play their best, we're not going to win. And I'm comfortable with that, right? But I'm not sitting there like I was sitting on my couch in 1992 when the Lions flew to Washington. I knew they had no chance of beating the Redskins that day. 0. I knew it when I woke up that morning. I don't feel that way right now. I'm being honest. If we play our best and they play like they played Sunday, we're going to the Super Bowl. They better bring their A game because we just never stop. We find a way. It'll be ugly. It'll be sloppy. It'll be grimy. We just find a way. It's been all year. We have one pretty win. It was a Saturday night against Denver. The other 13 wins, they were grinded out 3 hours of hell for me. My stomach was hurting. But that's who this team is. That's who Dan Campbell is. That's the roster. The best 4 players on the field play for San Francisco. Right? If you rated the best players on the field that day, the top 4 are 49ers. And then somewhere, maybe Panesu or Hutch or St. Brown gets in about 5. But I know who my team is, and I know what's going to have to happen Sunday. And I'm still picking us. I think a touchdown is absurd. We're going to stick around. We don't get blown out. One time in Baltimore. That's it. Every other game was a nightmare for everybody. Whether we won or lost, it was a grind.
Demetrius, one data point that might favor the Lions is that the 50-year curse that the Lions incurred whenever Bobby Lane went from Detroit to Pittsburgh in 1958 expired in 2008.
Yeah.
So you guys are 16 years overdue.
More than that, though. We didn't really exercise that curse till last year. Jeff Daniels and Peyton Manning performed a ceremony in the end zone of Ford Field. Google it. And since then, we've been winning. So,
yeah, but it expired.
I don't believe in curses. We're a really good football team. We're put together well, strong on the offensive line, strong on the defensive line, solid quarterback play. We run the ball well. We have a weakness in the secondary. If they want to beat us, they can throw the ball and they can beat us. But we'll see.
Is it possible to make excuses before the game?
Did anybody hear me make an excuse? Did I not say I expect us to win? I expect us to win.
Mr. Scott was hearing, but he wasn't listening.
He wasn't. I didn't even mention the fact that the Lions beat Minnesota 2 times in 3 weeks. I didn't even bring that up. I didn't bring that up. You're right. It's not relevant. I didn't mention that Minnesota's going to have a watch party to watch the Lions go to the Super Bowl. I didn't mention.
All right, guys. Okay, we're trying to keep the show to 2 hours.
Let's go. I'm good. Okay? I'm good. I told you guys what I think. I think I was reasonable and logical and good. Let's go.
So here we go with our predictions. I guess everybody has made a prediction for the AFC Championship game, but I'm going to go around because I want to take stock here. So, Demetrius, the Chiefs getting 3.5 from the Ratbirds, and the over-under is 44.5.
Jail sex and over.
Okay. Dave.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens in the over.
Mr. Scott.
That 3.5 looks like a trick. I mean, why is it that low? I don't like that.
Because they want people to put money on the Chiefs. That's they want people to put money.
Yeah, I can't go against
on the Ravens. They want people to buy.
I can't go against the Ravens, but that 3.5, it seems like it at home. The way
the Chiefs are on the road, the Ratbirds are at home.
No, I think I agree with them, and I agree with them. That's low. Baltimore should be a touchdown, maybe more.
Yeah,
maybe more. I agree with them on that. Yeah.
So
that's a low number.
So everyone but me is betting on the Ratbirds.
Don, you Ravens? I didn't hear Don.
Ravens in the point. I'm gonna tell you right now, this game could get ugly.
I used the term jail sex 3 times.
Yeah,
I fully expect this game to get ugly. Yeah.
I don't think it's just going to be jail sex, though. I think you've dropped powdered soap. Like, you got to sit there and try and scoop it up.
All right. Well,
that was good.
Now
another jar basket.
This is real easy because I'm the only one taking the Chiefs. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. So that one was real easy.
Yeah.
So let's go with the next one here. Demetrius, I don't even have to ask you. The Lions are getting 7 from the 49ers, and the over-under is 51.
Let me make it clear. I don't know if they're going to win the game. 7 is too many fucking points to give my team. We don't get blown out. Giving us 7 points is a mistake. We may not win, but we're not going to lose by 7. If we lose, it'll be 3. It'll be a last-second field goal. It'll be us trying to tie the game on the last drive, some shit like that. We're not going to lose by that if we lose. And I'm picking us to win. But if we happen to lose, we're not getting blown out. I can tell you that.
Dave.
I'm going to take the Lions and the under. I would love to see them make the Super Bowl finally.
It's called friendship, Mr. Scott. That's what friendship looks like. Just so you know.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go Lions here too. I think Debo is that wild card, but if he's either not in it or is, hampered in any way, I think it changes how the Lions can play. And because of that secondary, that helps the secondary. I take the Lions here in a close one.
Wow. Don.
Well, this game is an extension of the Texas Longhorn, Texas Aggie rivalry, right? Shanahan played receiver at UT. Dan Campbell played tight end at A&M. So my heart is all 49ers, but I think Detroit's going to take them.
Good man.
Ooh, okay.
Now, the roadmap has been laid for you, Anthony Scott. The people have shown you what friendship looks like. It's out. It's right there. It's teed up for you. It's teed up for you, bro.
Mr. Scott, the Lions getting 7. Over under is 51.
Well, it's hard for me to fix my mouth to say the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just too. It's just.
It don't feel right, dude. It don't feel right.
It does feel weird.
It just doesn't sit with the Earth on its axis. I mean, it's almost that type of a situation. I mean, in analytics, where's Bill? I mean, but,
yeah.
Well, they say it switches every so often, right?
I think the 7 is a good number. They're at home. They've played great. I mean, I think they win this. I think San Francisco goes to the Super Bowl and matches up with Mr. Massage. And, Cleveland's got to feel terrible. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield led his team to the playoffs in what Mr. Massage just sits on the sidelines.
Wait,
but,
what? Oh,
what?
I got lost.
But anyway.
Somebody help me. I got lost.
Yeah, I don't know how the Browns.
I think we're guys talking about Deshaun Watson.
I have no idea how the
and
Browns.
massages.
Like, where are the Browns?
Yeah.
The Browns are
But
watching.
San Francisco wins the game. The number looks about right. The 7, they're at home. I think it's just the basic pick.
Easy, right?
Yeah,
You just
it doesn't take a whole lot of analytics. We can listen to all the, hoping and wishing and all of these type of things. But when it comes down to playing football,
Yep.
the number looks good.
Right. You're so good at picking games. You're right.
I think the Vikings came. I think the Vikings came in 3rd in a 14 division, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's just me. Mr. Scott,
Injuries. They lost the quarterback. They had injuries. They had the Pasternak. Then they took him out.
Please.
Excuses.
I know. More like X-Flax, not excuses. More like X-Flax. But Mr. Scott, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are basically my nephews played sports at this high school, Cretan Durham High. And Joe Mauer was their teammate for football. And he was an excellent quarterback. And he was an excellent basketball player. I think he got scholarship offers down in Florida to play quarterback. And he makes the Hall of Fame. And it's just interesting. Dave Winfield, Molitor, Jack Morris, these guys all lived within blocks of each other. They all played at Dunning Field. And so it's just kind of cool to see him, make it into the Hall of Fame after watching him as a kid play. And I think the fact that he played catcher, I think it played into it too. But he had couple of really good years. I mean, batting championship type years, catching. So that's my thought on congratulating Joe for getting into the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
Don, your final thoughts.
Oh, final thoughts. So I don't know if y'all had heard the news, but apparently Sports Illustrated is going out of business, or they laid off their entire staff. Had to find a buyer. I grew up loving Sports Illustrated. I was a subscriber for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. But like so many of our cherished
publications.
Publications or our cherished
childhood memories.
Yes. They decided to piss off their fan base. They, swimsuit issue. They had chicks with dicks. They didn't learn. They didn't learn from Budweiser,
What the
Bud Light.
Alrighty.
Going
Going out hot.
out here
huh?
bringing haters.
I wasn't even ready, bro. You gotta tee me up. for
Yeah,
that.
you're a sports magazine. Your audience are men ages 18 to 65 or whatever the demographic is. Do not show ugly women in bathing suits. Don't show men in bathing suits. You're not doing your clientele any favors. Don't do that shit.
I thought this was about to be an emotional farewell to Sports Illustrated. I was about to get sad and everything. It took a hard left turn.
Sorry,
It took a hard left turn.
sorry.
Hard left or hard right?
No, but
My bad. Go ahead.
it's not just that they were catering to like fringe stuff, and so don't do that shit. We don't need to have articles on frisbee golf. Stick with football, baseball, basketball, hockey, track and field, boxing.
Yeah.
MMA. We don't need to have tiddlywinks, frisbee golf, and women's athletics. Just cut that shit out. That's my
Somebody
final
stole
thought.
my black
Oh,
socks.
man.
Somebody stole all my black socks, James. They're
Wow.
all gone. I just looked at all my black socks are gone.
I mean, thanks for having me on. I feel like this is probably the last show. I don't know.
I know. Great being with the sports crib. God bless.
Don't forget cornhole, Doc.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Bo, go ahead.
Good luck, Bo. Good luck
I don't know
following
how
that.
I'm following
Good
that
luck,
up.
bro. Right?
Wow. So mine is far less offensive. Back in 04, the Mars lander opportunity happened to land, and we started exploring other planets. And then we scrapped our NASA program. So it'd be really cool if maybe we could get back to the exploration and maybe less bickering on our own planet.
All right.
Or the depth
Slightly
of
less
I
offensive.
don't know. Wow.
Dave.
Yeah, I mentioned at the top of the show that my wife and I attended a high school wrestling match tonight. It was my alma mater, Winston Churchill Bulldogs, wrestling Quincy Orchard. And while we were there, one of the wrestlers on the other team, their mom actually works with my wife. And, my last thought is it was really nice going to a local sports event. And so I would encourage people, attend local sports events, high school, local club sports. It's a lot of fun, and I just enjoyed watching the young competitors that they're only thought, they weren't worried about getting the bag or anything like that. They were just competing, and that was a lot of fun. So, final word: attend local sports when you get a chance.
Demetrius, take us home.
Predictably, right? But with a different slant. The team is the team. This is great. And forget all these sad stories about Detroit. Oh, great for the Lions, but fuck all of that, right? This city is on the rise again, by the way. People don't know, they don't realize it. It took years to get where it was. It's a 20-year rebuild. The city is doing great. It's not some sad thing for Detroit, and good for them, the Lions are. This organization is built well, and there are millions of fans. I'm 54 years old. I went to my first game when I was 7. You guys know because everybody on the screen is invested. You're invested in your teams. I see the jerseys. I hear the bullshit Scott says about the Vikings. We're invested. I'm kidding. We're invested, though. But you guys can relate to, well, you Pittsburgh guys can't relate because you got a fucking room full of trophies. There is no trophy room at Ford Field in Detroit. It doesn't exist. You know why? Because we don't got no trophies, right? So what Sunday is for the team is obvious. What Sunday is for me, because you guys know me, it's obvious. I have my own podcast that's all about the Lions after every game. But there is 5 million people in Detroit. If you guys could have been at either one of these 2 playoff games and saw the atmosphere in that building, You guys know how this can be when it's right at the right time in the right city. We call Detroit Hockey Town because the Red Wings are a big deal. I'm a black guy that likes hockey. Why? Because the Detroit Red Wings were a big deal when I was growing up. And I live close to Canada, so I watch hockey. The Pistons have won 3 titles since I've been an adult, and that was great. 1984, the Tigers won the World Series. We knew in May that's the best team in baseball. Nobody's going to beat them. Make no mistake. The Lions are this city. This is a Lions town. The last month in this city has been amazing. Downtown Detroit, the last 2 Saturday and Sunday nights, respectively, as amazing. I can't even tell you. So what this would mean, and like I said, I'm not talking about, oh, look at this poor downtrodden city and the Lions are lifting their spirits. Bullshit. There's a bunch of football fans that love this team and they're good. And we want them to go to the Super Bowl. It's just that simple, like everybody else. And I think we got a real chance. It would be meaningful for a bunch of people. I'm not talking about the city and all the bad stuff people say about Detroit, because that's all bullshit anyway. Those are people who've never been to Detroit. They don't know what it's like. I'm talking about millions of fans who buy shirts and hats and invest their time and money and energy and brainwash their kids like my dad did me. Right? There's a million people who deserve this. The team deserves it. Dan Campbell deserves it. All that. Sheila Hamp deserves it. There are people in the city and around the country that root for this team. Fuck that. We deserve it. We deserve it. I want this for me and like 2, 3, 4 million other Lions fans.
Demetrius, can I just give you a bit of advice?
No. We're going.
It was a really good final thoughts. I closed it well. He couldn't do it. No, I'm fine, man. I'm good. He can't bring me down. He can't. He can't. My team.
I was just gonna say, stay away from high buildings, tall buildings, and sharp objects. That's
guys.
all.
Have a good night. Great show, James. Appreciate it. Right.
I'll see
Dave,
everybody-
Gold,
I'll
Don,
see everybody
James.
next
Have a good
week.
night.
Yep.
I'll
You know how I feel.
next week. And Mr.
All right.
Scott, make sure you bring that crying towel.
Yeah. Or just don't show up. Or just don't show up. I'd be probably fine. For the record.
Take
See
care,
you
guys.
next week.
Have a good night,
Have a
guys.
great night, guys.
Take it easy.
See you all next week. We're
See
going
you
to
next
try to
week.
keep this down to 2 hours from now, and I'm going to try not to ruin everybody's bedtime.
Did
for
you,
all
Hey,
guys.
guys, just
did you
remember.
ban Bill Carroll? What? That's the only shot. You must have banned Bill Carroll, bro. I love the guy, but
That's what he wants to hear.
I sent Bill a special note that he has to keep all his comments under 10 minutes.
good luck. Good luck. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one. See you next week.
Take care. Bye bye.